So when I was 17 years old, I trademarked the catchphrase, "Who's your daddy?" For 300 different products. And we got kind of lucky at 18. We went to some conventions, and somebody actually licensed the brand for the UK for $9.5 million. And they also licensed like starter apparel and some of those type of things. And so that gave us a good base, because now we knew we had revenue coming for the next 3 years for that deal. And so we were making clothing, we were making different products. We were in like 6 department store chains, maybe about 3,200 stores total over the next couple of years. And then when we were 22, we wanted to make the best tasting energy drink in the world. Not the biggest energy drink. We weren't going to beat Red Bull, Monster, Rockstar. We just wanted the best tasting one because they all tasted like cough syrup. So we spent about a year working on going public, working on the formula. We found the amazing chemist that worked with Gatorade, and we made the best tasting drink possible. So when we were 23, we actually went public, and that was the time when we became the youngest owners. Michael Dell was 24 when he went public, so we beat him by a year, but he beat us by like $7 billion. So over the next few years, we ended up becoming the 7th largest energy drink and selling into 55,000 retail stores. And so that was our kind of our journey as far as going public and launching the energy drink, all under the same brand, under the Who's Your Daddy brand. And then when I was 27, on the 10-year anniversary when we started in high school, is when I resigned so I could start an online poker site. I guess my first, I was 4 years old, selling baseball cards at the swap meet in Long Beach with my parents. They used to own 3 Levi's jean stores, and so they'd set up Levi's on the weekends, and I would set up my little baseball card stand right next to it and just buy and sell baseball cards. And then in high school, I worked a lot. I worked three jobs, working at Ruby's Diner as a host, and working at the stadium selling cotton candy and peanuts and Cracker Jacks, and working for a stockbroker, and like selling candy at school. And having the teacher sell it for me at the front of the class. I'd pick up the money every Friday. And so I was just always trying to figure out ways to earn income to help my mom. And I was saving a lot of money also for college. I ended up using all of that money when I was 17 to start Who's Your Daddy, because I'd saved a little over $43,000 for college from working all those jobs, and I ended up putting up everything into the brand instead.
Challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, I mean, still to this day, I'm just like, you're always battling that age. I don't want to call it racism or ageism. But I mean, when you're 17, 18, 19 years old, you know, we had 30, 40, 50 employees under us. And these people are 40, 50, 60 years old and have families and kids older than us. It's not that easy for them to always grasp it or take it in. But I always tried to make them feel a part of it. I was never talking down to anybody, because I didn't feel above them anyways. Like, I never felt that, so it never came off that way. So I think even when we battled it, after the first few minutes, we were usually able to get past it. There was times when business guys and business sharks tried to get over on us, and believe me, there were situations where we lost tons of money over the years dealing with people that were bad or thought they could take advantage of us, and we had to go through a lot because of our age. But overall, it felt like an advantage to me, not a disadvantage. Yeah, so there's a few along the way. One in particular was David Mizell. He's kind of been like my best friend mentor. He was the founder of Marvel Studios, so he invented like Iron Man and the Avengers and all these amazing things that all came out of his brain. He helped me a lot over the years of just analyzing people and structures and situations, and what the best use of time is and who to deal with and who not to, because I was getting pitched nonstop, and still to this day, like, there's all these deals always coming all the time, and he just always talked to me about time and the best use of his time and my time and what I should be focusing on. So I think he would be considered my main mentor. I met him through the Karma Foundation at an event maybe 7, 8 years ago, and then we just kind of stayed close over the years. So poker is really interesting. It's all about reading people, and so I do see that when you're dealing in business, when someone's excited, they lean forward. When they're nervous, they kind of lean back. If they like something, their gravity takes over. They're elevated. Their eyebrows go up. Their thumbs go up. So there's a lot of poker tells that kind of translate into the business world as well. I started playing when I was 18. My family had played. My uncle had won a bunch of championships when I was a kid. My dad played. My aunt was a dealer. Like, a lot of my family was in the poker world. So when I was 18, right away I'd go to the Indian casinos and be playing. It was very small stakes. Even though we had just made a bunch of money, I was still playing very small stakes just to learn. And then the second I was 21, I would go to Vegas once or twice a month on the weekends. And I was playing these big games. And eventually I got some success playing in some of the tournaments, and I won a few big tournaments. but I'd still consider myself recreational. I only play like 8 to 12 events a year. Yeah, there's some big name business guys that play poker and athletes that play poker, and it's kind of like the new golf. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, with relationships, they say your network is your net worth. It's kind of like a good representative. So with all my relationships, I don't really ask them for anything. All I do is try to provide whatever I can and introduce them to other people, invite them to events. I try to make it pretty one-sided where I'm offering to them all the time. So the rare time when I do want something from them or I do need something, once a year, once every few years, they react right away. For the poker side, I raised all the money in 4 days. For the energy drink, I raised all the money in 3 days. For my celebrity mobile app, I raised the money in 1 day. So when I do ask for something, which is only once, I'd say every year or two in particularly, things happen very quickly because I don't really ask for anything. So I'm always just trying to provide. Now, when I say provide, you don't have to give them stuff per se. Just give them value. And whether that's helping them with a relationship for their business or helping them with an event or being part of their charity events, whatever it is, just to be a part of their circle, but be the one providing so that when you do want something, because think about it, if I meet you and you're a zillionaire and all I'm doing is calling you about investing in my company every day right after I meet you, that's not a friendship. That's not a two-way street. It doesn't even feel like I'm going to have something to offer you later. I'm just calling you about investing or emailing you about investing. So with that zillionaire, for example, I may build a relationship for years, and there's plenty of people I've never asked for anything. I know I have 3,000 people on my phone that I probably never asked for a thing, but I'm still sending them updates a couple times a year, sending them happy holiday type stuff, and just keeping that relationship open for if I do need them at some point, or if they ever need me, I'm happy to help, and I don't look at it as automatic that I have to get something from them. There was a gentleman named Marshall Silver. He was the most famous hypnotist in the world, and he's one of the highest paid seminar speakers in history. And he taught me that as you create value for other people, it in turn creates value about yourself. You're basically edifying yourself every time I send you a relationship or I send you a connection or I help you with you or something, it edifies me and it puts me in a spot for later. And so he would offer value to hundreds of people and sometimes thousands of people at a time in these big seminar rooms, and in turn end up bringing him abundance over the years. And so I think it was an evolution of listening to him, some of my other friends, and also just seeing situations and seeing how people would meet me and how I would be turned off if the next day after meeting me, I got an email or a text about, hey, I want you to invest in this, or I need you to invest in this, or can you loan me money for this? It just turned me off because they weren't meeting me to meet me. They were meeting me to meet the business guy that could give them a check. And so that's not I think that's what I kind of realized it on my own as well. Victory poker. So one of my greatest successes and one of my biggest failures all at the same time. So essentially, when I had the idea to do that, raised the money in 4 days, built the third largest team of poker pros in the world. We hit our year one expectations after 10 weeks. We were just crushing it. We were so excited. We're in dozens of countries and tens of thousands of players. It was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then April 19th, 2010, we were supposed to get $3.5 million for only 15% of the company, plus $200K a month in marketing, huge company deal. We're all flying to Costa Rica. I bought $63,000 worth of flights. We're all going to Costa Rica to do a photo shoot. This contract's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then April 15th, boom, Black Friday happens. And online poker is shut down in America. We weren't shut down, but we willingly shut down because they shut down Full Tilt and PokerStars. So over the next 4 days, it happened to be on April 19th, instead of getting in $3.5 million in funding, I actually paid back 41,000 real money players, just so I could sleep at night. The other guys weren't paying anybody back, but I just felt it's not coming back anytime soon. Online poker is not going to get regulated for years. I got to pay everybody back and start a clean slate. And that's what I did. So I don't want to say it was a failure on our part per se, because it was kind of uncontrollable as far as the government. When they shut down the other sites, there was no way I was going to stay open and fight the government. You just can't. You're never going to win. So that was pretty catastrophic as far as all of a sudden I only had that one. That was my baby. That was my one focused company. And then April 15th happened, and then a couple days later, paid everybody back, and then now what? And I have this saying that's don't sit on the floor and cry about it. So I didn't want to sit there and just think about, oh my God, woe is me. What am I going to do now? I should jump off a building. I didn't want to sit and think like that because that's not going to do anything. So for the next year, I just started consulting for other casinos and other poker companies overseas and try to build my network and just dive in as hard as I could, staying busy, so I wouldn't just sit on the floor and cry and think about oh my God, I lost out on millions of dollars and I had possibly $100 million company and it just all went away. I just started getting busy because crying wasn't going to save that company. The government's not going to call me and say, hey, you can turn it back on now. So I just figured I would keep myself busy, and through that failure, I found a lot of success. I think my main passion is helping people because I had a lot of help along the way. So when I went through the roller coasters, there was people like the David Mizels and Marshall Silvers and these guys that helped me learn, pick me up, guide me. And so, every day I probably get 30 to 100 messages on Facebook and on my website asking me for business advice or look at the business plan, etc. And I really do spend hours, 1 to 3 hours a day answering a lot of these people. I try to tell them to be concise, list top 5 questions in order, and I'll answer each of those. I'm not going to do a 2-hour phone call and listen to your speech. But I do reply back and forth and try to help them. And then I take it one step further with my charity, with Model Citizen Fund. We make backpacks for the homeless, and each backpack has 150 items inside. And each year we give out thousands and thousands of these backpacks for the last 4 years. That's really my real passion project. That's like the one thing I really want to just keep building and building on. It's one of the few charities there's zero overhead that the charity pays. So if $100 comes in, exactly $100 goes out into a backpack. And I cover all the costs for staff or events or volunteers or anything we're doing, travel, it all comes from me. That way the charity can be one of the few pure charities that there's no big overheads. That's my real passion project, and it's not going anywhere. And I'm keeping it very simple and straightforward. I don't change it for anybody. I just make backpacks for the homeless, and I give it out at teen abuse shelters and homeless shelters and orphanages, etc. I think the bad is wondering who wants what. So I'd say I have 3,000, I don't want to call them friends, but people I know, acquaintances. And then a very small circle of actual friends. And then outside of that circle, they're stronger than acquaintances, but a little less than friends that I still deal with on a consistent basis. So I think that's the bad part, is that you don't always know people's intentions. I'm not famous as far as like a Damon John or Mark Cuban famous in the business world, but enough that the circle that does know, it's always I do wonder. So I would say that's the bad part. The good part is freedom. That's my number one thing. I think if I want to work for 2 days straight and not sleep for 48 hours, then I can do that. If I want to sleep in or pick up and leave to Paris tomorrow, I just pick up and leave. So I think the freedom part has been good. And I try to work with companies where I'm not locked into one location full time, because I live in 3 different cities. I think that's the best part, is that the freedom to be able to go and work anywhere at any time off a laptop in the middle of anywhere. I was living in Malta for 6 months a year for 2 years during the poker site. I didn't even know where Malta was, and I literally found it. That's where I'm supposed to have my gaming license. I went there with a backpack, with a one-way ticket, and found an apartment while I was there and stayed there. And so that freedom, I would say, has been the best part of my life. But the people you meet along the way, most of them are good, but then the bad apples are sometimes really bad. So what a lot of young entrepreneurs don't realize is we don't want to do the work as an investor. I want you to do the work. I want you to be awesome. I'm happy to give advice, relationships, but a lot of times people say, oh, you were in the energy business. Will you go call all the chain stores you were in? Or will you call 43 distributors you were in? Or will you go? I mean, I will to an extent, but I'd rather just give you the phone numbers or CC you on email and let you go do that, because that's what you're supposed to do. And a lot of times young entrepreneurs don't come ready for me to invest. For example, you say, I got this great idea for a new clothing line. Okay, great. And all you have is an idea or a name. You don't have the name trademarked, you don't have a corporation, you don't have a website, you don't have your social media locked up, you've never done any test marketing, you don't have a designer. So what are you? You're just another one of the 30,000 clothing lines that doesn't exist. And you're raising $150,000 at a $10 million valuation that you just picked up out of the air. So being prepared before you pitch me, because what if I just said yes? Then what? You don't have a corporation, so you don't even have a bank account. There's so many simple things that young entrepreneurs, they don't have to spend much money. You can start the whole business now. 2014, I could start a business in the next 3 hours that looks like, oh my God, they have $5 million funding. I could build out the social media, could have the corporation done, could have the website built in a couple hours. I could do everything very simple and clean that cost me pennies. I get the corporation now online. I can get everything I want online find my staff online. I could do almost everything out of an apartment and be live in a day. So when somebody comes to me unprepared or doesn't have a business plan or at least an executive summary and doesn't have this very basics around it, I just give them very blunt advice. Go get everything set up and come back to me. And what will happen is a lot of times I'll never hear from them again because I actually asked them to go do some work. And so a lot of young entrepreneurs don't realize you have to do the work. You can't just say, I have this new clothing idea or I have this new patent idea and I'm going to be the next Apple. It just doesn't work like that. There's so many things that have to happen to get to be the next company, the next big thing. So I guess the best thing is do the work. Celebrity was a realization that people want to touch the cloth when it comes to celebrities and business speakers and influencers, and people want to ask questions. So what the app does is, imagine you want to ask Justin Timberlake to say happy birthday to your nephew, or you want to ask Damon John 3 clothing questions so you can help start your clothing line, or you want to ask Martha Stewart a cooking question for your wife. Well, with this app, you can go in, you type in what you want to say, or type in what you want to ask, and it goes to the celebrity. They record it right off of their phone. Say, hey Benny, this is Martha Stewart. If your wife wants to cook, pasta, Alfredo, whatever, this is how she does it. Thanks, this is Martha Stewart, confirm. It replays for her to make sure Martha's happy with it, and then she pushes send, and it goes back to your phone and your email. There's obviously in between there we're the customer service, so we make sure it's all clean. You didn't ask for anything crazy. She didn't do anything weird. We make sure it's clean on both sides, and you paid up front for the service, and she chooses her price, whether it's $20 or $10,000. Most of the celebrities are around $100 to $500. We have like Steve Aoki and Phil Ivey and chairman of Marvel Studios. Some of these great guys on the advisory board or as investors. The old CEO of Samsung's on the advisory board. There's a lot of great guys on my advisory board. And essentially, we became that middle ground where there are competitors, but they're all pre-made videos or voice calls. So it's kind of like, hello, this is Justin Timberlake. Happy birthday, Benny. So there's no real feeling to it. It's just cut up pieces. With ours, we're the only one that does basically like a video selfie, where they actually take their phone, they record it, takes them around 15 seconds, they push confirm, it goes to your phone. And they can do that from anywhere in the world, charge whatever they want, and donate 0 to 100% to charity. And it's all up to them. So we have about 340 celebrities and athletes and influencers so far. And over the next few months, we'll hopefully get over 1,000 of those. Don't talk about it, be about it. I have so many people that just blah, 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 I have this great idea, and they have that great idea for years, and nothing happens. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't have the time for it, I work these jobs. I want you to stay working. I want you to have a secondary income if you're an entrepreneur. But you can sleep 1 hour less a day, or 2 hours less a day, and all of a sudden you have 365 to 730 extra hours a year. That's like another month of your life, just to focus on your project. So if you want to keep your full-time job, and I'm not suggesting you quit your job and start an entrepreneurial project, stop talking about it, spend an hour or 2 a day, and just focusing on your project. Turn off your phones, turn off your social media, be in a room by yourself, and just focus on your project. And a lot of things can happen if you just put 1 or 2 hours a day into your dream.